Hi, welcome back to the Travel Agency New Year podcast. My name is Rachel Kay. I am your host, travel agency owner, helping travel advisors become the CEO of their business. If you would like more in-depth help, you're always welcome to join the Success Circle program. It's $35 a month. ElevateWithRachelK.com will have more info on that. But let's get into the free stuff, the free help, inspiration, motivation. Today's episode is networking as a travel agent. And I wanted to touch on networking and how it is an important aspect in your marketing strategy. It can be, especially if you really don't want to be on social media. But even if you do promote yourself on social media primarily, it's important to build connections in and out of the industry. Okay, so networking. First off, before you start coming up with a plan for networking, by the way, what the heck is your niche? Do you have a specific niche? If you are more of a generalist, it could be a little bit more difficult to come up with ideas for networking. If you are more narrowed down, it's going to give you much easier inspiration, I guess. That wasn't phrased properly, but it is what it is. So if you are a little more niche down, it's going to inspire you on how you should be networking. So I have written down here a few different niches just to consider that are like I see a lot of travel advisors doing. Number one is romance. A lot of travel advisors do romance travel. 2 is educational. 3 is wellness. There can be spiritual travel. Wellness and spiritual can kind of be along the same lines. Luxury travel and corporate. So those are like very basic niches. You could go further, deeper into that and get even more niche down than just that. So for example, romance can be honeymoons, anniversaries, weddings, baby moons, friendy moons, but you can just pick a handful of those things, like 1 or 2 of those, and become highly specialized there. Educational, it can be like foreign language trips for like high schoolers. It can be like historical cultural trips for like homeschool groups. It can be college semester at abroad type things. It can be booking travel for your local sports teams traveling around if they're like cheer conferences, things like I can't talk. Cheer conferences, things like that. Those are possible options. Wellness, yoga retreats. If you want to get more into like the more athletic stuff, you could do like hiking trips, like El Camino is one, and that could also be like a spiritual one. Yoga retreats can also be considered spiritual. Luxury, everyone seems to have a different definition of what luxury is. Now, if you're looking for like high net worth and ultra high net worth clientele, most likely the ultra high net worth people have their own staff that do all their travel. That doesn't mean you can't get into it. And then corporate incentive, all that fun stuff. Corporate retreats, conferences, things like that. So, do you fit into any of those categories first and foremost? Because that's going to help you narrow down. Like if you are doing romance travel, there's not a whole lot of reason for you to promote yourself with a yoga studio unless you happen to know the owner's recently engaged. You know, like that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense there. Educational travel, it wouldn't make sense for you to go to a bridal studio, like a local bridal shop in town and be like, hey, can I leave some cards here? I do homeschool travel. Like that doesn't make sense. So where do you fit in terms of your niche? You don't have to be super duper specific, but you can get a little more specific if you want to. Okay. What is your niche? And then I'm going to give you some different ideas and what niche they kind of tie into based on this list here. And then I'm going to give you some obvious networking places online and some not so obvious websites you might look into. And hopefully, this will inspire you to figure out how to network. Okay, so first up, when you're looking for people to network with, it's important that they either are tied to your niche or they are kind of on the sidelines and could refer you to people in your niche. So, with romance travel, I'm a huge fan of networking with photographers. Photographers often do like engagement photos, wedding photos, shoots, things like that. They are huge fans of travel and they're always happy to refer. And conversely, you can also refer. So let's say you do romance travel, you don't want to do social media marketing, you're in a market where you have access to bridal expos that are not ridiculously high cost to get into, and you know that you can generate a lot of leads. So even just getting to know a few photographers and like setting up maybe some kind of referral system, whatever it is, even at those bridal expos, you can be like, oh, do you have a photographer for your wedding? I recommend you talk to XYZ or ABC Photography. They're fabulous. This one likes this style and this one does this kind of style photography. I know everyone's different. And conversely, they can do the same if a photographer is at that bridal expo, they know you, and let's say they're talking to a couple and the couple's like, we're really interested in like a destination wedding, and they know that you do destination weddings and they know you, they're going to refer you. So photographers are really, really good for destination wedding or romance travel. And they're more inclined to convert, like if you get into romance travel, it's not a good idea to, if you do destination weddings specifically, try to get on their vendors list for like at venues. Like they're going to be like, no, I want the business, that doesn't really make any sense. Catering also, you could do it like, hey, I do honeymoons and I can work out this referral or like a discount for anyone booking your venue if they book a honeymoon with me in X amount of time after depositing on your venue and they say that you referred me, I can do this for them, kind of thing. Okay. Bridal shops are another good one for just getting on like a preferred vendors list. And there are a lot of wedding associations that you can join as well, local to you. Just to give you an idea for romance travel. All right. Local chamber, BNI, kind of hit or miss. You can kind of get some like family travel. You might be able to do your specific niche with a BNI and being listed on your local chamber. And also, it could be a good opportunity for you to promote corporate travel if you want to get into that. I know BNI, if you don't know what BNI is, it's like Business Networking International or something is what it stands for. And it's just like what it is. It's a business networking thing. You want to be sure that you can afford the costs of being a member of a chapter of a BNI and also additional associated costs. So there's typically like an annual membership fee, and there's also I think might be like a monthly membership as well, like a smaller $60 a month membership fee, possibly, depends on the chapter. And then you typically meet for breakfast or lunch. And so you got to pay for your breakfast or lunch. And then there's also requirements with these networking, like business networking types of groups where you have to meet with a member from your chapter once a week. So you got to factor in that cost, whether it's a lunch or like a light dinner, maybe some drinks after work, something like that, something smaller to kind of get to know each other better. And it is a lot of work being in those groups as well. I have heard mixed things about travel agencies being parts of like a business networking association. Both good and bad. Like it's a lot of extra work. Okay, next up I have listed like booster clubs, PTAs, alumni associations. Those would all be excellent opportunities for alumni associations we'll get into that, the why behind that. But they could be excellent ways to get into like the educational or family travel sphere. Alumni associations, if it's like an alumni association for like a private K through 12 program in your area, you could help them with like fundraising for tuition, scholarships for low income families wanting to get into that school, for example. And they always love to give back to those schools. If you're looking on like a collegiate level, you might be able to do something like networking by joining the Alumni Association from your alma mater. It just really, you need to take a good look. Where did you go to school? Did you finish college? Where did you attend? And does it make sense for you to join the Alumni Association? Because again, like that in particular, a lot of donating. They're going to be like, hey, we know you got $100,000 in student loans for this degree, but also can you donate? That's going to happen. But that's a good option for like educational and where's family travel. Sorry. I'm starting to blank a little bit there. I mean, you could use any of these for any of your niches, but sometimes it makes more sense to go with one than the other. Like if you're doing, I mean, you could talk to a photographer about any kind of travel, honestly. But it's a good one for romance travel because their clientele is almost always people engaged and people starting families. Okay. Then there's churches, hobby groups, HOAs. So hobby groups could be like a knitting club, a book club, a quilting club, whatever hobby. You like frolfing? I don't know. Like maybe you join an adults kickball league. That's an opportunity for networking. Churches and HOAs, like those are going to be more like closer knit community based things, along with your hobby groups. Obviously, these are closer knit. So you can promote whatever your niche is. Don't just go in. I'll say something at the end. Please do not go into any of this thinking like this is only for me to generate business. Like you are building partnerships. Networking isn't just give me, gimme, gimme. By the way, HOAs could be good because you will get to know your neighbors in your neighborhood. And if your neighborhood fits like demographic of your niche and your ideal client avatar, that could bring in business and referrals. So those are just some examples of where you could just mention like, oh, by the way, I own a travel agency, or, oh, I'm a travel advisor on this team. And this is what I specialize in. What do you do? How can I help you? As far as finding these things, it really depends on where you live. I know major metropolitan areas, you're going to have more success finding these things online versus like more rural areas. And even like where I live now, if I go on some of these websites, it's all like weird manifestation, witchy, Freemason, weirdo, Illuminati stuff. Like that's what I see. And I'm like, that's not for me. And there's like nothing else. But you might want to check these websites. And these are alternatives to LinkedIn because I know LinkedIn is a good option. But if you're just like, I just don't understand LinkedIn, these might get you some local events that you can attend. And then there's another website that you could join where you could also possibly find that I'm going to list, like I'm going to mention here, that you could find other small business owners. So Meetup and Eventbrite, like Meetup's going to have, you just type in your city on Meetup and it'll show you everything possible. And there's going to be possibly a lot of like tech startup type stuff near Austin, for example. Maybe there's going to be some over 50 singles meetup type things like that. There's going to be some like Dungeons and Dragons type stuff. There's all kinds of different little groups that people can join, walking groups, hiking groups. It's interesting. And you never know who you're going to meet on those meetups. But you're putting yourself out there. And Eventbrite is very similar. Then there's also local Facebook groups. You could, like local moms groups are a great option to you obviously you want to get permission from the admins to promote family travel inside these like local moms groups. You could do things outside of just promoting yourself, which I'll get into, like I said, later in this episode. Discord. You could create your own Discord server. You might find somebody on Discord. Like, I'm trying to give you all these different options because you're like, what do you mean? I did have an agent on my team who would get business from Discord. And then there's the obvious, like I said, the local Facebook groups, Facebook in general, Reddit, all the major like platforms like Twitter/X. I don't know what's on there. I just maybe that would work for you. I don't know. So those are some places you could go to possibly meet people outside of just Googling, you know, HOA or contacting your HOA or like hobby groups in your area. But that if you are interested in the hobby groups aspect, those might have some good resources. Obviously, churches, whatever your denomination is or your religion is, whatever's closest to you or whatever you feel like you connect with the most would be an option. Now, when it comes to networking, I'm not saying to join all these things and attend all these events and just be like, by the way, I'm a travel agent. Bye. Like, mention that you are. It's kind of like dating, but not. Like, you can just kind of mention that you are a travel agent and you're happy to talk anytime if it comes up, but don't like outwardly push it unless you have a very, very good idea to propose to the gatekeeper of said group and then be like, I have this awesome idea. What if we did a group trip to, I don't know, Nicaragua, Costa Rica? I don't know why I said Nicaragua, but crazy idea. And we could do X, Y, and Z, and this would help this group in this way. Like, you have to have all this information together to present to said gatekeeper and then see how they take it. And just be like, just putting it out there. Also, if you just network with people in your community, they will spread the word. If they find you to be trustworthy and know you're going to do your job, you're going to get business that way. So don't think that keeping your mouth shut and only social media is going to get you business. If you are in a very, very remote rural area, like I did have to do strictly social media marketing for several years because there was like no one in my town to market to reasonably. So you might, like, if you are in the middle of nowhere, you're going to have to do some social media stuff, but that doesn't mean you can't network on social media platforms as well and like build those partnerships. The opportunities are endless. Networking is a great way to help you help other businesses or organizations and spread the word of what you do. So it's kind of like a give and take thing. Okay, that was all about networking. I hope that helps you. If you've been feeling nervous about feeling like you have to strictly promote yourself on social media, just know that there's other ways to market yourself. All right, have a wonderful day.